fundamental to all of this uncertainty is the word change. Change is what drives uncertainty. And the simple question we want to start with asking before we explore how change has affected creativity and branding is, how significant is this change? How tectonic is the shift that we've been hearing about?
Technology has changed, but it's just amplified all those behaviors in volumes that Chris could never have imagined when he was growing up. We are living in a true social revolution. It's a fundamentally changed world where the consumer lives front and center and they have been empowered. Now, as brands and advertisers, we need to understand what that means and what are the implications for our business. We're living in a truly interconnected world where the consumer is demanding to be front and center and demanding to be part of the conversation. We must, as brands, engage with our consumers. We must now create ideas that move our consumers, create ideas that no longer about just moving them, but moving them to create acts. So we need to now be creating acts and not ads. It's no longer that we're living in a Web 1.0 or a Web 2.0 or even a Web 3.0 world. We're now living in a U.O world. The consumer is in control. The consumer is in power. We need to ensure that we are igniting our brands, utilizing that content, and then spreading it out through our advocates, through these people, to engage and drive increased involvement and participation within the campaign. Brands are now defined by what people say they are. And what people say they are is by the experiences they have with the brand. 86% of consumers no longer listen to what a brand has to say about itself, whereas 97% of consumers listen to what a consumer has to say about a brand.
So, we have to create experiences, content, conversations that will spark the right conversations about our brand with the consumers. But the consumer is fundamentally in control of the conversation. We can shape it, but they're fundamentally in control. The second implication, and this has been touched on, is the search for purpose and meaning. And we see a lot of this. There is a search for purpose and meaning. It's driven by external factors in part. It's driven by a loss of trust in institutions. It's driven by a concern about our environment, about a need for sustainability. All of those things are driving a need for purpose and meaning in the brands and how we consume brands. When I started in the business, we were fundamentally thinking about the what and the how. What were the features and benefits of our products? How were those features and benefits delivered in terms of advertising and communications? And is one of the factors that is driving the need to make sure that we understand the why of our brand. Because if we're not delivering against the why of our brand, we're missing a trick in terms of how people make decisions, but we're also going to be found out because our brands are going to be increasingly interrogated.
McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts are selling coffee that tastes pretty much the same for $1. But Starbucks can sell the same product for 3 to 4 times that, for $3 to $4. At Starbucks, you're not just buying coffee. You're buying a higher purpose. They define that in Starbucks as that they don't fill bellies, they fill souls. Starbucks is part of every local community. It's about doing good. They're so consumer focused, they've actually launched a platform called My Starbucks Idea that enables you, to the consumer, to engage in the shaping of their business, the decisions they're going to make in the next terms of the next product, how they're going to redevelop and redesign their stores. They're also galvanizing the communities that they are servicing. And they're doing that through what they call giant acts of we. They're engaging their local communities and going out there to do good in the world behind the power and supported by the power of Starbucks.
So we've seen control, we've seen the need for meaning and purpose, and what we're also seeing is the meteoric rise in the amount of data that's available. Monado talked about this eloquently this morning. Essentially, we can collect more data and we know more information now than we've ever known about our consumers. And that's a fantastic marketing opportunity for us. But there is a danger. there is a danger that we have to use the data wisely. And the risk, as Sir John Banham said, is we're in danger of attaching the greatest importance to the things we can measure most easily, and thus ensuring that we are precisely wrong rather than roughly right. And I think that's a great quote. And I think it's very applicable to us as a communications industry and to the client community, because I think it's really important in this data-driven world that we differentiate and separate what is accountability and effectiveness. And I think there's a very big difference between accountability and effectiveness. Accountability, quite simply, the things that we can accurately measure and count. This may be click-through rates, it might be the production budget on the commercial. It certainly can be the value that we can add in terms of improved media planning and media buying. We must spend much more of our attention on looking at effectiveness and looking at how creativity can drive return on investment, because that is the far, far greater leverage than anything else.
Never has our business been more important. The need to create the most unbelievably compelling content that truly engages our audience. At BBDO, we've termed this as creating the world's most compelling commercial content. Content that is so rich, so powerful, and so magical that engages the attention of the audience while you give them some information or an experience that changes the way they think, feel, and act. We are no longer in the business of just advertising. We're in the business of creating acts, not ads. Acts so powerful that they will ignite the people, get the people behind the content, make them feel like they own the content, to drive behavioral change, to drive a social movement. That's the business that we need to be in today.